FY27 workshop season. Not everyone, everyone looks so excited. Tonight, on tonight's agenda, we're going to have a presentation from the school department. And then afterwards, as a council, we're going to talk about the schedule for budget season 2027. And is there anything from the deputy or city manager before we get started?
I'll turn it over to Charlie. I don't know if he has anything to.
Nope, not yet. We'll send it over to Amy, who always does better on these than I do. So we're starting off with our best. We can talk schedule at the end.
Great. Amy, take it away.
Thank
please.
you. So thank you for having us tonight. A lot of my team is here tonight to show support for the budget work that we've been doing in collaboration with the council. Many are at Skills USA, which started today, which is our competition for our students in Bangor for our Career and Technical Center. So we have a group of admin there as well. And I do have 2 school board members here also. So wanted to start tonight by thanking you for having us, and always appreciate the opportunity to talk a little bit about what the schools are doing and where we're headed. In your folder, you have several documents. On the left side is another copy of our strategic plan. Very proud of the work we did with that. We did do a presentation to you all about that, but just kind of wanted to bring it back to the forefront that everything that we're doing in this budget season, we continually bring back to that plan. Are we reaching our goals? Are they aligned to our goals? And how and when can we accomplish those? So everything that we'll talk about tonight is tied to that directly, so we wanted to make sure you had another copy of that. For tonight's agenda, we wanted to kind of ground everyone in our district-wide data, and so we'll go through that a little bit. We'll talk about the strategic plan goals that we think we're working to accomplish so far in this very first draft of the budget. What are some things we accomplished this year with the budget that our taxpayers approved for us for this year? And then what are some of the challenges and identified needs that we're trying to accomplish in the FY27 budget? And then talk a little bit about timeline with you all so that we're all clear on the school department's timeline, because as we know, it is a bit different for us because of the citywide vote. So to start with our district-wide data, first we wanted to show you 3-year enrollment trends. So school departments have to certify all of their what are called enrollment data by October 1. And October 1 data is what is used to determine the state portion of the cost of education, the state subsidy that we receive from the state. So October 1 is the grounding data that's used for pretty much everything that the state does for the school department, and it helps us determine what we're gonna get for subsidy to help build our budget. So our total enrollment on October 1 for the 25-26 school year was 1,242 students. That does not include Hancock County Technical Center. That enrollment is done in a separate system within NEO, it's called, is our data system. At Ellsworth Elementary Middle School for 25-26, we have 736 students. And at the high school on October 1, we were at 506. Our largest jump was at Hancock County Technical Center. So in 24-25, we had 264 students enrolled, and this year we had 312 on October 1. And we expect that number to either stay stable or to go up this next year again. We are seeing an increased request in high school students attending Hancock County Technical Center. And a reminder that those students come from all over Hancock County, not just Ellsworth High School.
Question?
Yeah.
My question was this:
Yeah.
how many of the 312 are Ellsworth?
A little over 100 typically. So about 112, I think, is what we had talked about. So
Okay. So
typically,
you've got 112 of hours, and in theory, if I understand this right, the balance would be paid by the other towns that are sending.
no. So what happens?
We're chewing on that.
CTE is funded differently. So we receive state subsidy separately for a career and technical school. So we build our budget, we subtract the amount of state subsidy we receive for that school. Whatever that difference is divided per pupil, and that amount we charge the schools. So we do get payment from the other districts for those students.
Fair
That's
enough.
that's
Fair
the
enough.
formula we use currently. And now, other subsets of data that we think are really important for everyone to understand is special education counts. So students that have individualized education programs, by law, school departments are responsible for what is in those plans and programs. So a lot of costs that are embedded throughout the budget are costs that legally we have to pay for because of federal laws. So this year, we're at about 250. Since October 1, that's gone up by about, I'd say, 10 to 20 students since October 1. But the October 1 count for the last 3 years has been pretty stable at 250 to 255. Now, here's where we start to see a little bit of a story of the changing complexities of our schools. So first, multi-language learners, you'll see, has stayed pretty stable over the last couple of years at around 20 to 25 students. Here's where we start to see the uptick. We received more subsidy this year because of our economically disadvantaged population. So that has gone up again. And if you see, since 23-24, we were at 432 students, and this year we were at 553. So that is a pretty big jump for our community. In addition, in 23-24, we had 41 students that qualified under the Homeless Assistance Act, and this year we are at 57. So that adds a layer of complexity to our schools that is fed and felt throughout the system. So as we start to look at our budget, we did want to ground you back into our 6 main goals in our strategic plan. First, strengthening school culture and climate, improving communication and building trust, attracting, developing, and retaining exceptional staff, advancing academic excellence and alignment of our curriculum, expanding student opportunities and supports, and then optimizing resources, facilities, and technology. When we look at things we have accomplished in the FY26 budget, we were able to do a lot of things this year with our budget. First, we added a behavioral health specialist to our school that focuses on behaviors of our special education population. We expanded our pre-K program from 2 to 4 classrooms, and we had 2 additional classrooms at the Brian E. Moore Center. We expanded our technology department. That's a department that had been traditionally very, very small, and with all the district technology and the demands, we were able to accomplish that. After several years of cutting this from the budget, we were able to bring additional gifted and talented programming to our middle school and finally have it at Ellsworth High School, and we had not had it in a formal way for several years. We've added additional support for our alternative pathway program, which is alternative education, and our remote program that we started over a year ago. We've continued to work on upgrading our facilities. If you recall, when I first came on, we had defrayed facilities fixing for a very long time. And over the last several years, we've been able to make progress on those plans. We also, when I took over, we've worked really hard to update our curriculum and textbooks. We have not had curriculum alignment and updates of curriculum materials for a long time. So we established a cycle, and in FY26, we did science and world language. And transportation was a priority for us this year with the purchase of 2 buses. And in addition, we acquired our bus rate software, which helps our drivers optimize efficiency of bus routes. And parents can follow their child on the bus and see where they are. So that if a bus is running late or ahead of schedule, the parent knows where the child is and alerts and notifications go out. And then through some grants, we were able to upgrade all of our cameras in our buses as well for safety purposes. Things that continue to be challenges and threats to our budget. Continue to have facilities needs. Hancock County Technical Center is only one of several needs. Ellsworth High School is now several decades old. And if you come in, you'll notice there's starting to be deficiencies in that building that we are working to continue to address. Negotiations are getting more and more competitive. We've talked about this before. Educator workforce is depleting. People don't, unfortunately, want to work in the field of education anymore. And where we used to have 10 to 30 applicants for teacher positions, we are now in a position statewide where we're lucky if we have 2 to 4. And it's even less for administrative positions. And then in addition, continuous, we talk about this every year, legislative unfunded mandates that when different pieces of legislation are passed, talked about several today, that legislation often gets passed, but what happens is to do the things they want us to do, there needs to be some fiscal help from the state in order to help acquire those. Otherwise, they fall to the burden of the taxpayer. So those are the things that we continue to see as major challenges to our budget. I would also say that in the last several days, another big thing, and we have talked about this in prior years, but the funding formula for funding education through the state of Maine is archaic. Finally, there is a proposal, there is a bill that is being, has gone through the Education Committee that I think, as it gains some traction, I do think will go to the full legislation, that very much updates finally the funding formula for education that's used in the state of Maine. If that happens, that will considerably help us specifically in Ellsworth, because there are several factors that go into the funding formula that currently don't help us, one of which is regional index. Our regional index has not changed for years and years and years. Our cost of living has gone way up in Hancock County, especially people living on the water, and there's no adjustment for that. The new proposal would adjust that for Hancock County, and that would astronomically help us. It also has not adjusted the base average salary for teachers for over 3-5 years. Everyone's base teacher pay has gone up statewide, so that would drastically change the formula. And they're looking at big changes to special education allotment. And finally, they are looking at increasing the allotment for your per pupil for economically disadvantaged student. When they ran FY26 simulations with the new formula, Ellsworth would have gotten an additional $880,000 if they had adopted this now. I think that what they're hoping for is FY28 for a change then, but as things keep morphing and changing, because the changing of the formula does create a winners and losers. We're one of the winners, but there are a lot of districts who are used to receiving quite a bit of money who would not continue to receive that kind of money. So they're trying to figure out a way to stabilize things. But finally, it is the first time that a funding formula change has been proposed that has everybody going, oh, that actually makes more sense and would be more equitable. How can we help people not go backwards quickly in one steep year? So I will keep the board and the council apprised of that. because that is going to be something that will take an all-out press by all of us to legislators to help us with that. But there does seem to be partisanship on both sides to help make this happen. But that is definitely something, state subsidy not funding education to the level it should is something that is definitely a continued challenge to our budget. FY27, what are the things that we have identified as being priorities for us? Staff school safety preparedness. We have done a lot of collaboration over the last year with our police and fire departments for a brand-new comprehensive emergency management plan. And there are a lot of recommendations that our protective services leaders have given us for changes we need to make for the safety of our students and staff. So those things are embedded throughout our budget to help bring us to fruition of those recommendations. Through our strategic plan, something that was very clear through the data is people, families, students, parents want expansion of academic, real world, and different types of pathways and experience for students, financial literacy, career readiness at younger ages, STEM, all those kinds of things were very embedded throughout our strategic plan and were looked at when we developed our budget. Going to talk in a few slides about the new law regarding free and appropriate public education, otherwise known as FAPE, with school districts assuming the responsibility for 3- and 4-year-olds by FY28. Yes, I said that. Some of you are like, what? Mental and behavioral health supports, as we see rises in a variety of issues with our families socially, we see very different mental and behavioral issues at our schools. Main care billing specialist for revenue. So with the assumption of FAPE, a couple of years ago, school districts across the state of Maine partnered with the Department of Education and Main Care. And now school systems the last few years have begun billing Main Care for services that schools are providing within the school. And so if a student has an IEP and is receiving specialized services or specialized nursing services, you can bill Main Care for that. We have not done that prior, and our proposal is to start doing that. What we have learned from the districts that have piloted this is that you need an hourly employee that can work on insurance and Main Care and understands special education. And the revenue brought in from that offsets that person's position and then brings in additional revenue to the school district. And in some school systems, it's brought in massive amounts of revenue to help offset the budget. And so with the transition to us for 4-year-olds for the FY27 school year, that is a category of students that most definitely we should be billing and capitalizing on revenue. And so our proposal is to start both. July 1 is to do the Main Care billing, and we are going to be assuming FAPE for 4-year-olds starting this fall. Finance department restructure. Something that we've talked a lot about the last couple of years is that for a school department our size, we don't have a human resources formalized department. We have a payroll specialist who works very, very hard. And currently our finance manager does finance and human resources. And with a system our size, that is not best practice. We should have our departments split and have finance, human resources. So our school board this past Tuesday night did approve a plan for us to do that. So that is a part of this. Always an identified need is continued recruitment and retention of staff. Last year, I talked to you a lot about instructional technology needs for our district. As our facilities have needed upgrades, so has our instructional technology. Part of retaining good employees is giving them what they need. And because we have not done an upgrade in instructional technology, we have such old instructional equipment in classrooms now that we can't fix them anymore. You can't even buy the bulbs for some of the projectors anymore. And so last year, we created a reserve account, if you recall, for an instructional technology project to do district-wide. And we applied for a grant and put money in the local budget with the hopes of getting the grant to help offset the cost. The federal government did decrease the number of grants they awarded through that this past year, and we did not get it. But we do have a plan in place for bringing that project to fruition to upgrade instructional technology across the district for all staff, which we do think helps retain good employees. This year, with our curriculum cycle, this year's proposal and need is to do math for middle school and high school. So we did science and world language last year. That expense comes out, that curriculum update is done. This year it is math. Prior to that it was English and literacy. Professional learning is always a need for all of our classifications of employees. And then last but not least, I'm sure you saw in the Ellsworth American, there is a push in Maine for cell phone bans for students, which our board did adopt a policy for that for the 26-27 school year. Right now in the budget is a proposal for the cell phone storage pouches. However, if the governor's supplemental budget comes through, there is money that will be given to districts to offset that. But as of right now, we don't know if that's going to happen or not, so it is in our budget currently. I did want to take a few minutes to talk a little bit about the FAPE transition, or the Free Appropriate Public Education transition, and to talk to you a little bit about our preschool program, because that is going to change dramatically our schools for the better, I do believe, for the better long term. There was legislation put in place that call for this. By FY28, we are going to be responsible, whether schools want to be or not, we are going to be responsible for providing FAPE for all 3- and 4-year-olds in Ellsworth. That does not mean that all 3-year-olds that need special education are going to come to EEMS. That's not what that means. It means we have to coordinate all of their services, and or if they're 4 years old and they would like to access our preschool, they can do that, and we have to coordinate all of their services, okay? So to give you an example, schools have had to, over the last couple of years, complete a readiness plan. Because we are offering public pre-Ks, we've had, the state has come in, audited those, and they've said, you're ready to do this. We feel good about your programs. You're ready to go. We decided to wait and let other school systems start taking this on. You could be a part of cohort 1, which was back in 24-25. Cohort 2 was 25-26, and we're a part of cohort 3 for 26-27 for 4-year-olds. We strategically waited and did not participate in the 2 years because we wanted to see how this was going to roll. Because we weren't quite sure how it was going to roll out. Because in the beginning, the state said it'll be 100% funded. Yeah, it's not 100% funded, which we knew it probably wouldn't be. Nothing is 100% funded. And so we waited to kind of see how this was going to roll out, and we do believe now is the time. We believe that we would rather ease into this law and not do 3- and 4-year-olds all at once. We'd like to set a good foundation and a model for 4-year-olds and then work our way into 3-year-olds. There is a completely separate fund. It's called ECSE, which is not going to mean anything to you, but it's a separate fund, and you're given an allotment of money based on who is identified for students in your catchment area and what their needs are. And so we will pay for people to service these students. We will send in our trial balances, and the state will reimburse based on our trial balances on a quarterly basis. But essentially, we are going to have a pre-K coordinator who has to go to all the primary care physicians' offices in Ellsworth, all of the public preschools, private preschools, special purpose preschools, home daycares, anyone who has 4-year-olds. We are going to have to develop memorandums of understandings for how we're going to service students who identify for special ed. It could be that Amy qualifies for special education under speech. Maybe I just need speech therapy for a while. That often happens. School department is now responsible for ensuring that meetings happen in the law. We're required for making sure that the student is provided the speech services. Anything that's in a student's IEP, we're now responsible for. So what are we going to be doing to transition to this? We're going to be doing a couple of things. So first, we're going to be advertising the beginning of next week for a pre-K coordinator who will help coordinate our 3 through 5-year-old population of special education students. This person will have to be an assistant special education director because they have to be the administrator by law at all meetings. They will also be the special education teacher, providing any special discrete instruction that these 4-year-olds or 3-year-olds need, however many minutes they have. And they'll be the ones that will start building relationships with all of our partner pre-Ks in the area, daycares and doctor's offices, to help start building those bridges over the next several months. We were approved for early funding for this position from the state. Most systems are doing this. So our allotment from this ECSE side of the revenue, we were approved to get a portion of that now so that someone can get on board and start putting this work in place. So you're not going to see a huge uptick in the budget in any pre-K lines because things will be reimbursed through the ECSE fund, but there will be some costs in the budget for this. We are changing our model of our 4 pre-K classrooms. We've been working closely with the Y. Right now, we have 2 pre-Ks at EEMS and 2 at the Moore Center. We are going to be moving one of those back to EEMS so that we will have 3 at our school. And the 4th one, we are no longer going to control. We're actually going to do an MOU with the Y and have the Y take one of their preschool classrooms back. And then we will pay them a per pupil amount that we receive for pre-K subsidy to them. Variety of reasons for doing that. One, didn't work out 100% the way either side wanted it, being in the Moore Center. Highly complicated there. Second, it hurt the Y having 2 pre-K programs of 4-year-olds taking it away from them. This way, they can have a classroom. They will employ the teacher and the ed tech of that classroom. So there won't be this teacher is paid this amount and this teacher is paid that amount. They will get subsidy from us to operate that classroom. And honestly, for universal pre-K, which eventually is the goal in Maine, they want you to have a multitude of pre-K options for families to choose from. There's never been an expectation that the school department will put all pre-K programs in the public schools. Not all families want that. Families want options and choice. And so this will, I think, honestly be better for both sides and will feel better for both sides. It does eliminate a teaching position and an ed tech position from our budget, because with the Y taking it back over, they will use their staff. And in the end, it does end up saving us money and helping the Y at the same time doing it this way. So I do think that it's a good move. We have to immediately start doing transition meetings for our 4-year-olds that are going to be coming to us next year as part of FAPE. So that needs to start. And the other big change that is happening next year, which is a big thing that families in Ellsworth have said they want our public pre-K to be on the same hours as the rest of our school. So right now, our pre-K programs at EEMS come about 30 minutes after the start of school, and they get picked up prior to dismissal. So they miss all the hullabaloo, but it means they can't access transportation. And so for a lot of working families, they would like the option of using the bus. Now, not all families want to put their 4-year-olds on our school buses, but some would like to have that option to access pre-K. And so we are going to be moving to a school day model, which is what the state has recommended for the last several years anyway. So we are going to be making that switch in the fall. So some cost increases in our budget this year that I want to point out. We have seen an increase, yes.
Could I just back up just
Yes.
for 1 second? This 3- and 4-year-old program, is that mandatory for the parents to send them, or is it optional?
So it is optional to send to our pre-K. It is mandatory that the school department has to oversee their individualized plans. So they could choose to have their child, as a 3-year-old, be at the Moore Center or be at the Montessori Nursery School. They can absolutely keep their children there. But if they require speech twice a week, we, as a special education department, have to ensure that that's happening. And if they don't have someone to service that student, we have to.
And if, I guess asking it another way, are 3- and 4-year-olds mandated to attend school, or can they stay home?
They can stay home.
Okay.
They 100% can also stay home.
Thank you.
Oftentimes, parents will want specialized services, and that happens through the doctor's office, which is why doctors are brought into this. But they may homeschool or keep their child at home. But we'll have to provide the services for them and collaborate with the family to do that.
Thank you.
Yes, you're very welcome. So mandatory costs that are in our FY27 budget, we have seen an increase in out-of-district placement. So for students who have extreme emotional or behavioral circumstances, that they have gone through our tier of supports and they cannot handle the public education setting for whatever given reason at whatever given time, if their IEP team determines that they need something different, we are legally obligated to pay for them to attend a private purpose out of district. So the 3 schools that we typically send students to are Kids Peace, Stillwater Academy, and the Bangor Regional Health Program. We also then have a population of students, and this has increased this year, that have to attend Acadia Hospital for emotional needs. While they're in the hospital, we are required to pay for their educational services while they're there. And so that line has also increased because that is happening more and more. And so those things coupled together are legal requirements that we don't have a choice on, and we are seeing an uptick in that. Being a residential student at Acadia Hospital is spread out between regular education and special education. So it's not always special education students who need emotional or social support through Acadia Hospital. That is, all students have access if that's what's determined is needed at the time. This year, we did just ratify Tuesday night our teacher's contract. So that was a huge accomplishment. Had a lot of hard discussions. It started back in October. And so there is money in the budget for the raises that we gave to our teachers, deservedly so, in the FY27 budget that's embedded throughout. Also, every year, different contracts go up different percentages. Those obviously have to be put in the budget. And this is the first time you see bond payments for Avery Lane and for Hancock County Technical Center's revolving renovation fund. If you remember, that's the school safety loan that we receive at 0% interest, where a big percentage of it is paid for by the state, and then we pay the remainder of it over the next 10 years. So those things are in the budget and are big increases. I always like to talk about not just this budget, but things that are coming, because one thing we've worked really hard to do is develop 5 and 10-year plans. So I'm really proud that now we have facilities plans, we have athletic field plans, technology plans, furniture, like we're getting there. And so that puts us on a cycle so that we're not taking these huge hits, hopefully, year after year. And so I do think it's important to talk a little bit about not just FY27, but the years beyond. So we continue to talk about the need for Hancock County Technical Center to have a new school. There is a committee that continues to work on that. Would love to have a city council member, just saying, if any of you want to participate in that, that would be great. We do have the transition in FY28 for 3-year-olds. We have to constantly be thinking about recruitment and retention. That is becoming very, very important for us. Continued safety preparedness for our staff so they feel secure and safe in our schools. Continued upgrades in our capital improvement plan, both for our facilities, but also for our athletic fields and for our infrastructure and equipment and transportation. Increased flexible academic pathways. Kids and families are looking for different things than schools have done. They want wraparound mental health, behavioral, family services in the school. They want real-world hands-on learning for kids. They want to know about careers. It is dramatically changing. And then there's also the push for families that want their students to do learning remotely and don't want them to come to school, and they want to do everything online. So we're challenging and balancing all of those things. And then, believe it or not, physical space. Ellsworth High School is busting at the seams space-wise. We're out of classrooms. We now have smaller classes in rooms that are supposed to be for meetings. And in a year, I would say, we are going to have a behavioral program at our high school, which will require a completely different classroom setup and infrastructure, and we don't know where we're going to put that at all. So we have physical space in that regard. I would also say for physical space, our other big need that we are talking about long-term is a regional special education program. Hancock County superintendents have talked about this for several years. The primary location, the optimal location, would be in Ellsworth. But right now, all of us in Hancock County are trying to piecemeal together educational services for students at out-of-district placements and sending kids to Bangor for that, paying not just the tuition, but also the transportation stresses that it puts on our transportation system. And those costs is astronomical. And we really feel like if we could find a space that Hancock County could come together and do a regional program modeled after the Bangor program here in Hancock County. And they, of course, would love us to be the hub and manage that. It is something we continue to talk about, but again, space and where to put it and how to do it and all the stuff would cost money to start up. And so, but it is something we talk about as the needs grow and change. I would also say Bangor Regional Health Center's collaboration at Ellsworth High School has been a game changer for us. Everyone would love to see an extension of that at our Ellsworth Elementary Middle School, but we have no space. So there's a lot of things we're constantly thinking about. Physical space is definitely a big one. So before we go into budget timeline, the next thing that I would like to talk to you about is your one-page handout. And so what I would like to say is if you go to the bottom chart, I want to caution you to not lose your minds when you see this, because literally we built our budget without payroll. Tuesday night, the teacher's contract was ratified, and now salaries are in, and this is where we landed. But it's taken us a lot of work, because if you remember, we got new financial software this year, and these poor two ladies have had to put payroll in and do those things all manually because of the changeover. So all of our negotiated agreement just was put in. So literally this morning, this is what popped out. And so I would caution you that we know this is not gonna fly. Trust me, we know. But we haven't had time to start having discussions. So what I will talk you through is right now, budget to budget, last year to this year, our budget is up 7.5%. If we then do the revenue side, which is not on this chart, the grand total local appropriation would be 13.44%. So that's your percentage to taxation. That's why I said, don't panic, we know that's not gonna fly. But budget to budget, we're only up 7.5%, which is actually pretty good, considering we haven't started really taking stuff out or talking about things. I will say this, as of right now, we just finished our first round of 8th grade registration for Ellsworth High School. We're just starting pre-K and kindergarten registration, and we have not finalized tuition revenues yet. So the whole revenue side, including fund balance, we have rough numbers in there right now, but those will change because it's early for schools to have all that information. By the time we come to you in April, that will have evolved and changed, and we'll have some numbers that may be a little bit different. What I will say is when we looked at subsidy and the numbers as they are, if we were to take our current budget and try to get us to 8% to taxation, we would have to cut $840,000 from our budget. What I will tell you, yes,
From your proposed budget or your current budget?
from this current budget.
Thank you.
And so what I will tell you is in our budget right now, there's not huge facility upgrades. There's no like big overarching project like there has been the last few years. We will be looking at staffing. That is where we are probably headed. I will say that right now in this budget is an increase of health insurance of 15%, because that's what Anthem kind of recommended school departments do. We just found out the max will be 14%. And so all of those little pieces of the puzzle over the next few weeks are going to start coming together. We will get our Anthem rates. We will have a better picture of our revenue side to try to help offset that. But there's not going to be a lot of nickel and diming of supplies, equipment, and projects. There's not a lot in here to begin with. We already have done and vetted and cut a lot of that stuff. There is a little bit more we can do, but there's not a lot. And so now we are looking at enrollment by grade level, electives, enrollment in all of those, and it will have to come to staffing. And I don't say that to scare people or alarm people, but to get to 8%, the number is $840,000 has to come out of my budget, and that's not gonna get, we're not gonna get to that by cutting supplies and equipment. those things don't add up in a 32 million budget. And so we are going to have some really hard choices to make over the next couple of weeks. We have a pretty clear contract about how that process has to go. And if we had to get to less than 8% to taxation, we're looking at over $1 million. And again, I don't say that to upset or stress people, but it is the reality of where we're at. My leadership team and I are rolling up our sleeves. We started yesterday, and we're going to have some hard choices that we're going to have to make over the next couple of weeks, with the hopes of the next time we come to you, April 2nd, that we'll have our recommendations. But literally, having just ratified the contract Tuesday night, this is where we're at. We thought about coming with not showing you this because we didn't want to upset people, but that's not transparent, and that's something that we've worked really hard to be with you as transparent. I feel like this is version 1 of our budget, and it honestly is, I think, a really good budget and does meet our needs and help us meet our goals. But we know 13% is not going to feel good to taxpayers. We understand that. So we know we have work to do. So if you look at our timeline, we did this with the June vote in mind. We backed it up from the June vote so that we met all of our legal obligations to print the ballot. So we will present to you April 2nd again, take more questions, have more details of all the different cost centers, really be able to show you what's in each cost center so that you can have a chance to weigh in on what's in each of the cost centers. That will come April 2nd, with the hopes that we will make changes, if any, after April 2nd, to then come back to you a week later for a final approval and vote. So between now and April 2nd, we'll probably have a version 2 that will show the school board on March 24th at our budget workshop, because literally this is the first time they even see this. They did not have this Tuesday night. Literally, this started Wednesday morning with staffing being put in. And then from March 24th, they'll be able to weigh in on all the cost centers. We'll make further changes, and then we'll come to you April 2nd to get your input and feedback. So at this time, if you have questions or things that you specifically would like to see for our April 2nd, happy to take your questions, comments, and thoughts.
Any questions, comments, or thoughts for the superintendent from council? Councilor N. Smith?
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. I appreciate having the information, and I appreciate, I'm doing this with my organization, with my board. Here's the first run. We're not calling it a draft. We're saying this is what
Version
you
1.
start when you put the pieces together, and then you go, oh. So I appreciate having it and knowing that you're going to continue to work. The one question I have is, I remember I've read about and I've watched a little bit of the legislation that you're talking about that would realign EPS. I don't remember the LD number, so I can't go back and start tracking it. Do you? I just
can.
tried to do a search on EPS, and of course, that's not going
I
to work.
want to say 1664, but I'm going to look for you.
And if you're willing to follow up on that.
Yes.
I'm assuming the effective date would be for fiscal year 2028.
Yes, yes, it would
So
not impact this budget.
Right, which would be nice for us, but
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, we'll find out. I mean, by April, the budget will be in the works and bills will be passed, so wondering how that will impact what we can do in fiscal year 2027, knowing that for us, fiscal year 2028 will be significantly better.
And different.
So,
Yeah, and I think what's interesting is, in the meantime, they're still talking about passing bills that are great philosophically. I totally agree with them all. But I'm like, can we put a fiscal note with those, please?
They do, and then they all go sit on the appropriations
Correct.
table or the study table, and then
Yep.
a significant portion don't finally pass, so.
And so we're
Yeah.
kind of watching and waiting, cell phone storage being one of them.
Yeah.
There's another one that was out today for crossing arms for all buses.
Yep, saw that.
You know, extremely important, should happen, yes. That's not in our budget for all of our fleet, for those that don't have it. And so, yes, I can 100% provide you with the LD, and there's a handout that shows the differences between the current funding formula and the proposed funding formula. I can email that to everybody so that
Okay.
you have that as well. My team wants to see it also, and we just got it.
Okay, thank you,
Yep.
appreciate that.
Any other counselors, questions for the superintendent? Ben Smith?
I do. When Avery Lane came up,
Yep,
it had more space than you could use, but you knew that you were gonna grow into it. And just looking for what the status is of the space at Avery Lane.
so right now, I would say we've already outgrown it, to be honest.
Well, you don't get a new one, I'm sorry.
I know, it's okay. We are using all of our cubicles. We have one room that was the old bank server room that right now IT stores a lot of their equipment in, and they have staff meetings in there. In this first version of the budget, we wanted to have the server removed so we could make that additional office space. But to remove that bank server, we're gonna end up taking it out of this budget. I can't in good conscience pay $15,000 for a server of that magnitude to be removed while I'm talking about staffing. So we'll figure it out and work around it. But today, we had professional meetings, we have teacher meetings there. Conference rooms are being used constantly. Adult education, as foot traffic, all hours of the day and night. When I'm working at night, people are coming in. It's humming all the time. It has been probably one of the best things, I would say, our school department has done. It makes people feel extremely professional to be able to come have teacher meetings and professional learning. We'll be full yet tomorrow for our professional development day. We have a whole group of teachers coming to do literacy training, not just from Ellsworth, but from around the county. It's been a game changer for us as a school department, and it feels good to own it and be investing in it. It's been phenomenal. I can't thank the council enough for supporting that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other counselors, questions, comments? Well, thank you for coming. This is very helpful. Clearly, a lot of work went into this, and clearly a lot of work remains. And good luck for that process, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Yes, you will. Thank you very much, everyone.
And thank
You
you,
got
everyone. for
Charlie
coming.
looking over your shoulder.
Oh, hi.
Sneaky, isn't
I
it?
haven't been on video the whole time. You know,
I was like, I'm like, holy crap. Hi, Charlie.
cat ears behind you.
I mean, I
was just
know-
like,
I know we're friends,
but,
oh.
great presentation as always. I mean, I'm such a memo guy. Now I want to do spend 6 or 12 hours this weekend getting a great deck like you have there.
You're a weirdo.
So, and it just, what a partnership this has been. I know scheduling, even the basic things when I arrived, how do we align on the budget cycle? You guys have always been more operational excellence. We're getting closer to you all, but your team has been incredible to work with, and I think this has been our best scheduling alignment thus far. Seems like we've worked out a lot of the kinks here, and it saddens me about the cost increases. I know not to scare council too much, but we're looking at $600,000 increase in benefits. I can't, $400,000 debt service repayment on roads we've already paved. Hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars in collective bargaining increases that can't be touched. And there's just so you kind of just start the cycle already that far in the hole, and that, we're really gonna be trying to do our best as we can on a maintenance budget. And I should say our department heads, we had a lot of tough conversations on, hey, we need this, we need this, we need this, and it's true, but there's really not gonna be a lot of new from city. We have a pretty expansive policy set from previous decisions, and we got a lot of places to go, but we really, we'll do the best we can to keep this budget down, so.
Charlie, anything for
Sure.
anything else for Amy or the school department? Or can we release them?
No, they give us the information they need, as Amy said, very transparent. We'll have that number, we'll put it into our numbers, which we're filing this weekend and next week. But nothing else for Amy. I know we'll have our kind of second rounds or see where we're at, and Amy and I talk pretty frequently, so if I need you, I'll call.
Thank you.
Great. Well, we'll let you guys, unless you want to stay for more.
I mean, I love you all, but.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So Charlie, do we
Should we
want to
talk
work through
schedule?
schedule? You or Sarah want to walk us through the schedule? Why don't we we'll just give 30 seconds for folks to clear out.
God, you look like you're suffering, Charlie.
What's that?
You look like you're suffering.
Yeah, I actually had a tough morning, and then I got a second wind as I was finalizing some memos. And then,
I just wanted to tell you, thank you guys
Fate.
brought it
We're gonna
last
go straight
night.
to that after this.
WLZ5 had a thing about $11 billion worth of deferred maintenance that all of our schools have had throughout the state. And the $600 per square foot, blah, 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 and like what it's costing in general. And the woman was like, it's only gonna go up. So it was it came across my Alexa last night at like 10:30, and I was like, what is that?
What-
But I was like, how
That is not
appropriate.
bedtime listening.
WLZ5.
WC5.
I
Okay.
just thought it was interesting and interesting timing and all the budget, and all the money. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for the.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, well, I guess we knew who was here. All right, Charlie, we've been abandoned by the school department. Council and staff here.
So we'll transition really next week. I just want to talk schedule a bit. First off, I just apologize for the 5:36 mix-up, and just maybe a kind of scheduling on that. Does everybody prefer 6 p.m.? I know some folks have some work responsibilities till 5. Just to maybe lock in. Do we want to do 5:30? Do you want to do 6 p.m.? And we'll obviously make both the scheduling invite and what's on the city hall boards match and the website.
6 PM.
Anyone else?
Second that motion.
Second, okay, anyone strongly for 5:30? Seeing none, we'll go with 6, Charlie, that sounds good. Keep
Love
it
it.
the same, yeah.
So next week, I think that we have on ellsworthmaine.gov, I know you guys have printed out schedules there, but it's also on the website for those. I think the council has a link to the website up there, the public as well. Next week, as you can see in this, there's been an incredible amount of work that's already done. I think that was a big process change for us this year. I mean, we were starting in November on this budget with department heads. Everything was built inside the budget system. It was a much smoother operation this year than my first 2 years. It's really, this piece is probably one of our most locked in for the city now. A lot of the numbers we're gonna be talking about, you can see in the schedule, we're gonna be rebidding quotes later on too. That was one of the process edits. Next week, we're gonna focus on Thursday on really any new requests. There won't be too many of them, but the ones that are in there, that was a process edit from last council's recommendations that, hey, sometimes it just gets so late talking about the operational budget of, 2 or 3 departments, and then you get to a big new request in a department, and, everybody's just not at their tip top for that. So let's try to make a way this time just to pull those all out into the beginning. We're probably gonna have a presentation from Jason and Nate in our IT department. I'd say are some of the most task-saturated groups in City Hall. I'd also note that some department heads had some new requests, and they're also struggling, and actually pulled their requests back at the department level. Really, I think as we were talking about things, it's been a real team effort to really note that I think everybody in departments would agree that the IT team is, they're the ones that are, are really task saturated and do such an incredible amount of things for the organization. As I've told the IT, I'm probably a no on an expansion there this cycle for some of the reasons for Amy, and I'm kind of a no on just about everything new, which we'll talk more about next week. But obviously it's the council's decision. I think there's enormous opportunities with AI and efficiencies and project management and things. Like, there's just so much higher value work that Nate and Jason can do in the organization that increases productivity to, like, really none of us can increase productivity as much as they can if they're not doing like the general tickets. And they are a much smaller size department for how much they do. And I think even the county has 3 people and a much smaller work set than they do. So we'll talk about that. A couple other smaller requests. And then we've got, after that, I think go to the outside organizations. Is that the next one? Yep. So I should also say for next week, I'll also be delivering you all the budgets and orienting everybody to the books. I think for counselors who've been here before, it's the same structure as it was when we built it in 6 weeks after we threw out the former budget, which was random Word documents and Excel sheets.
You mean
So
the empty
should
book? You threw out
What's
the
that,
empty
Steve?
book. You threw out the empty book.
Yes.
Yeah.
There were some things in there. There were numbers and some words. There were no labels on anything.
It wasn't, yeah.
On a $40 million budget, it was a little surprising. But we put together a pretty good product to begin with. It's getting better every year. I've mentioned there's some headwinds in finance in terms of reconciliation still, and some other pieces that I really, to be honest, feel like I failed at and haven't optimized to the degree I wanted to yet. This budget process in the books is the exception. Obviously, it's what everything else runs on. So, I'm really proud of the team on what we put together here, especially Nate and Ashley without a finance director. Like, we met our deadlines. We're here tonight. We're gonna have a printed book for you next week. It pretty much took the entire organization coming together to do that the first time we did it. And now, due to some of the prep work that Nate and Ashley and former Nate, myself and Sarah and a lot of our department heads did, this has become a much more streamlined process. If this was a Mary Poppins situation and I departed suddenly with my umbrella and my purse, I think this budget process would survive. And I can't say that for previous
God, that's a picture
iterations
I don't
here.
want to
That should
I was gonna
completely
say, I
include
can
all the
never
department
not
functions.
picture you that way. Charlie, ever.
Thanks a lot for painting that picture with you with a purse.
I think it'd
It's
be
a
a
carpet bag,
briefcase.
by the way.
It's a purse, man purse.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what for the new
Briefcase,
counselors,
yes.
it's a lot. It's a big book. It's smaller than it has been. We've tried to streamline some of the information and make it a lot more readable. The goal is, to the extent possible, that you can go left to right on it, and with a lay understanding of the budget, you can understand where things are spent on and understand from year to the next. That's the other nice thing. Now that we've been in the budget for 2 years, we have 2 years or 1 year, full year of prior year actuals, and 1.5 year of actuals to this year. I think as those with us beforehand too, we started off and there was no prior year actuals, or what was in there was like so wildly different. So every year that we're in the system and doing better, we're able to kind of make those efficiency gains. So we'll orient to the budget books. We'll do the new requests. Should be a pretty straightforward one there as well. And then we're gonna do the second workshop, the 19th at 6 p.m. will be the 26th, third budget work, external organizations, committees, and commissions. We've kind of lumped this section together this year to, these are the ones that, we wanted to front load this a bit last year when they came in. I would say this was kind of more of the spirited debate. And I know, Pat, you've got some opinions on some of the external organizations, but we want to make sure there's time for those opinions to be heard, and I know others may have it as well on kind of where we fund our external organizations. So there was a lot of discussion on that last time around. We wanted to make sure that we brought that closer to the front end so that We could talk about the external organization funding requests. We did have our committees presented a recommendation, which would be the same as the city manager recommendation. But then also our committees and commissions, which are sort of internal parts of the organization, but felt like a good group to go with. And then we'll rebid our quotes to kind of do some dialing in, and then the fourth budget workshop will be on April 2nd. That'll be my 2-year anniversary in the organization. We'll hear from the joint council and school. I should also note too, just another process edit from last year when we do the new requests or any of these pieces. Ashley will be doing a change log for city council and staff and organizations, kind of really keeping track of, hey, we need more information on that, or I don't really think that should move forward. And I think it's just to be a little more clear of the expectation for council. As I've mentioned before, like Nancy she got the gold star all around. Brought it up in the meeting, came prepared with reading beforehand, and then sent me an email oftentimes afterwards, or these are the things that I wanted more information on. Don't feel shy about those pieces. If you feel like this might not be right for the budget, if you feel like the information isn't there, please speak up. We thought about getting little paddles or something for everybody, but I think hand raising can be, we'll pause, and Ashley can log it if it's not an answer we have right away. I think sometimes we go down some rabbit holes trying to solve a problem that we saw in the budget to fix. Hopefully there'll be less of those now, but just to preserve time, some of those flags will say, hey, it's a great problem, we're going to come back to you with some answers at the end, and that way staff can kind of just dig into it as opposed to trying to problem solve in real time. Then the school board is coming back for that April 2nd. We'll kind of have their final number and that our kind of final recommendation kind of opportunity, I'd say, from the council. Then they go to their school board for their budget approval based on kind of the city council's last edits or requests.
Charlie, can I?
And then
Hey, Charlie.
Charlie.
They actually come back to us on the 9th, and that'll be a tough week. It's just kind of the way it is. Yep.
Hey, Charlie, question for you. On the schedule, it has April 2nd as City Department Session 1. But I think that you and I think Amy said they were coming back on the 2nd. So are we like a week, we need to add a week in here? Or are we adding the April 2nd to the City Department 1, City Department Sessions 1? Or do we need to add another week to this schedule?
Sorry, Ashley, maybe I'm looking at the web one that doesn't have the updates that you sent around.
It's not showing a second round for the schools.
Yeah, we have it that they end on April 16th, and I don't know if that's updated.
It ends on the 23rd.
Okay, so I think.
Online it's the 23rd.
Okay, so what we have here is we just need to push.
Yeah, we gotta update the website. I think we made a change to this.
Okay, so Thursday, April 2nd will be school.
School workshop and city council, and school budgets, they kind of come back
Then the
with,
9th.
as Amy noted, kind of their final-ish number for discussion with council.
Yeah.
And then Thursday, April 9th, city department session 1.
Okay, and then everything just pushes back.
Recreation, that's one of the bigger ones, as noted before. This is gonna be an area where I've kind of cut to what we're currently at, where we stole a couple of highway employees, transferred some business, and are running a pretty lean ship on Parks and Rec. I've asked Roddy, and Roddy's delivered on, what he feels now a needs assessment or a full Parks and Rec department needs for the city, to kind of meet the needs of the community. That being said, it's a tough year, but I do feel like we need to take some time to really talk about it as a council. Now that Roddy's been here too, that was sort of step one, let's get the director on board. Let's have that person really feel what they needed for Parks and Rec Department in Ellsworth. So it might not be moving forward in a lot of that, and I'll probably be cutting a lot out of there, but I really want to spend some time on that piece. In some ways it is a new budget, but and then Roddy's also taking care of facilities now. in addition to Parks and Recreation, and he still will do the City Hall, the miscellaneous properties, the outside facilities. Roddy will be on hand for the external organizations meeting. There's a fair amount of those budgets which are really relative to his recreation budget, and that's why you see at the end there, recreation time permitting. If the external orgs go pretty quick, commissions, committees, and we have time, Roddy will start on recreation that night. If we don't, we'll wait until April 9th. We've really, the new book is kind of, it makes a lot more sense in some of these changes too. There's like $600,000 in existing recreation spending in the city that was in 9 different departments or commissions or other things. Now that you can kind of go all in one place and find all those in the new budget book we created. It was a lot of work from Ashley and Nate to make sure all those things tracked over. But so we'll see what's kind of current spending and what could be new with a fully sourced department. We'll then go into our police, fire, dispatch and fire, as well as public fire protection, which is another increase that we can't control, and human resources, employee benefits, and then Thursday, April 16th, we have the session 2 with city departments, IT, Kobe, streetlights, traffic signals, SIP or KIP. We're still deciding which pronunciation to use on the capital improvement plan.
It's Kip.
Assessing, code, library, clerk, tax, general assistance, election, joint office. I know there's a lot here, but just a quick reminder too, these are they're operational budgets, and except for recreation, which there'll be a little more filled out there. So I don't anticipate these going very long.
Charlie, on that, just in first staff, can you guys resend out the updated agenda to the council?
Yep.
Okay, great, thank you.
And I believe the invite has been updated to represent 6 o'clock.
Great, thanks, guys. We're just working out the kinks the first session.
Yeah, and we'll get the website updated as well. And then Thursday, April 23rd, we'll have the Public Works budget, which we also consolidated a lot of the pieces in the book, so it's just under one area, solid waste, wastewater, water, and public administration. Then the economic development, TIF, and IRCI, communications, city manager's office, finance, debt, county tax, that's up about, I think, 11% this year. Yeah, 11, I think it's 11%. So another thing, it's hard to, it just keeps coming with the headwinds. And then we'll finish it off with legislative, which is your all's budget, so.
Great.
And then if we need, I know for some councils who've been with you before, they know the routine. The school kind of has some pretty hard set deadlines when we need to get guidance to them and lock it in. Technically the city doesn't have to commit or finalize budget until, really June 30th, but we'll be prepared in April to pass, and we can kind of go from there. If we feel like we need a little more time or some other things, we can add some workshops moving forward. The school one really is the one that has the statutorily and kind of legislative, or the election that really drives some of this timeline, because we found in earlier versions of this, having the school present so early and kind of go out with their number without dialing in the city number ahead of time really kind of left people in the dark as to what the total tax increase could be. So we fast-tracked a lot of the city side of things last year, and even more so this year, so that we don't have to pass on April 23rd or a workshop closely thereafter for a council meeting or a special council meeting, but I'd anticipate that we'll be ready to.
Great. I have a question. So April 9th, on the timeline that Amy gave us, it says city council final budget presentation and vote. Is that a special meeting? The council?
Yes, correct. That's for I think that's the meeting that we need to have to vote on the school budget, which the council needs to give at that timeline in order for the school to meet their statutory deadlines.
Sure.
Their board approves, we approve, then it can go on the ballot. And Tina worked with our teams just to make sure those dates work so that she can get them all coded and put the election machines together for, I think it's a primary this year, so it'd probably be a decent turnout.
Yeah. So can we, as soon as we're able, can we get an invite out for the 9th so everyone on the council has it and we just, because that's a special meet. Is that a Monday?
That's a Thursday.
It's a
I
Thursday.
believe it's gonna be right before the workshop.
Oh, okay, so it'll be before the April 9th workshop.
Yeah, so
Okay.
they come in, present, you vote, and then we'll go into our workshop.
Okay. Are we going to start it at 6, or is that gonna give us enough time to get through what we need to get through?
Yeah, the April 9th is a pretty light.
It's a light one, okay, great, that's helpful.
Yeah, and I think that final school one, I mean, of course, the council can say absolutely not, but it's kind of like you had your final, it goes to their board, and then it comes back to you all, and there's, I mean, at least the times I've been here, that's the one where there's really not a lot of discussion unless, that's not to say somebody couldn't protest and we want to send it back and, we might have to do a new election or call a new election, there'd be a cost with that, but that's sort of that deadline of, hey, we either pass, or if we decide not to pass for a good reason, we're gonna have to call a new election to meet our deadlines.
Okay, well, that's helpful, and I
But
think,
we will send out a separate invite, so you know that it's like 6 to 6:15 is that council meeting, and then the budget starts.
okay, great. Any other questions from council in that regard, or on the schedule in general? Okay. Anything else, Charlie, on schedule?
No, nothing on schedule.
Okay. Anything else from staff for tonight? Okay, great. Real quick, for the council, while I've got you guys, committees. So, I will take the blame. Some of our committees have not been fully staffed by counselors. So I'm gonna pass, if you guys can just hand this down.
No way, really?
So this, Ebony helped me update this list to show who we have for, where we have vacancies on the various committees. One I know that has been updated is Nancy's also is on the HR committee. So that one is full, but we're missing, and I don't know if everyone's had a chance to look, but like the Harbor Commission, Marina's on it, but we could use one more. I guess Historic Preservation Commission, we think it's Carol, right? I think she's
Yes.
still on it, so that
Yes.
one's all set. But it also says she's they'll figure that out. Local roads, we could use 2 folks. I think I know a guy on the council that used to work on roads a lot. I'm just saying, I know another guy in council that.
Steve.
Yeah, and as we say, I know another guy in council that business is primarily over the road, so. Solid waste, John Stein was on that with me, so we could use another, if anyone's interested in solid waste. And then, Nancy's gonna be on HR. And Business Development Corp, we're looking for someone, if anyone's interested in that. Capital Planning, Tab, I think you're on every committee. You win. And I don't know, and these are all, some of these meet very infrequently, if at all. And you guys don't have to give any answers tonight, but if there's anything on here that any of these committees you'd like to serve on, if you could just email me and Ebony, and copy Sarah, is that, and just let us know and we can fill it out and then just make sure that everyone has that. So I just wanted to figure out how to you guys all here real quick. Fire off an email when you get a chance and let us know.
And Patrick, I don't know if you wanted to, but you could combine maybe local roads with the capital improvement planning.
I think that's great. I'd love to do that. So moved, so
Especially
done.
with street scan and those pieces there, all the work Sarah's doing, those will go pretty hand in hand.
I think that'd be great. I think it's a great idea. So I think I'll wave, Charlie Poppins waves his magic wand and it's so
That would note-
combined.
Yeah, that, solid waste, an interesting one.
Yeah, it's a
big
fun one.
cost
I
overrun.
like it. It's a good
It's
one.
super complicated. We got some big contracts coming up.
There's gonna be a lot of activity in that one.
If you want some thorny problems and some tough political decisions, and a lot of anger, join that one.
Might wanna give up one of your
That's
other
favorite
committees,
thing to do.
Tabitha.
Just add it right on top of the other
Yeah,
one.
I'll talk a little more in my
Solid
memo about
waste
that,
is
but,
always a nasty
yeah.
business.
Oh, yeah, it's a fun one. I worked in,
capital improvement and roads,
I,
that
I,
one seems a little
I
more.
really didn't,
Sarah's got that one pretty badly.
when I worked for H.E. Sargent, that's what they did, we got into a lot of landfill remediation. And I went through, I don't know how many clothes.
You know, you don't
I burnt
actually
them.
do the work on the commission.
When I get done, I burnt them.
yeah, no, I actually in my past life drove hazardous waste trucks around Boston. And, so it's,
Fun.
but yeah, it was, well, it was interesting.
Oh,
that's
did
for
you
sure.
really?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
wow.
Had my Class B license and everything. It was fun for a while. There's a reason I don't do it anymore. But, so yeah, no need to answer right now, guys, but, yeah, if you could email me, Ebony, and Sarah, just to give us updates, and we'll make sure that they're all adequately, staffed by counselors. And that's it.
Cool.
Awesome.
Great.
I will see you guys Monday.
Feel better, Charlie.
Yeah, feel better.